Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
Wrestling Billy Milano-ness that makes SOD work to me. And I love Jamie Josta. I think Jamie, I watched him crush at the Golden God Medal Awards, and man, that dude, I like everything he does, like all his stuff. And listen, if you called me up and if Scott was like, there's no danger in this happening, but if Scott called me somehow, was like, hey, do you want to sing for SOD? The answer would be, fuck yeah, I do.
Right.
And I would certainly do it. So I'm sure that's kind of what Jamie Josta was thinking in his head. Of course, I want to go sing these songs and get canceled. I was just thinking that, like, how would SOD go over now in this particular?
Yeah, right. I mean, anything on the debut album alone.
Lord, yes, my land, everything.
Well, that's
like every line.
Me, in my heart and my mind, though, that's why you want Billy Milano, because he'll go out there and do it. He don't care. He don't give a shit who comes up there and says something. Yeah, he's going to show you right in your face.
Yeah, he is perfectly comfortable with all. There'd be some things that I would be a little uncomfortable with on there. I'd be like,
right. There's some shit on there. Yeah.
Like what I was like thinking about like listening to it when I was a kid, and then like I popped it back in the other day. I'm like, ooh, some things don't some things don't age like fine wine.
So. No. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I would go see it, of course, but I would love to see Billy Milano like in action, because like you said, look at that guy. We sat there and watched him rant for an hour in that interview. Right. Like, it's like, give that man a microphone. That's what people want to see. I want to see
do his podcast, right?
Billy Milano podcast should have his own thing where he just bangs and interviews people that want to let it loose.
Yeah, that guy would be, he's so good at that. Like, it's like, that's like, let people do what they're good at, like that's kind of been, my motto with us over the years, and, kind of why we've had, sometimes we have different stage shows and different approaches to the albums. Like, instead of like staying so rigid, like and make people do what somebody else did, my take is like, it's always going to be better if you let somebody do what they're going to do. Like if I bring in another guitar player, I'm like, well, this guy does this really well, so why would we work against that? Like, so to me, it's like, why don't we write for that? Why don't we, kind of stay in that direction? And unfortunately, and not changing the subject, but like, now, I've always wanted to do, the whole, when we put the whole idea in the head, I wanted to capture that Southern rock element with only one guitar player. It was hard, to weave, get all the good harmonies and stuff. And then you get two, and then the two don't get along. And then the one's trying to outwank the other instead of working together. And then, eventually over the years, now I just do the other guitar part because I can stay in my lane. It's like, cause I'm like, now it's about the song, and it's all kind of, I can see all the different perspectives, like from
that whole thing almost makes you appreciate like the Southern rock bands that have like 3 guitar players, because it's hard enough to make like a band work, and then with 2 guitar players, but 3, I mean, that's nuts.
3, and watch them and watch how, like, you go listen to a Skynyrd album, everybody's in their own lane, they're all doing something different, it all works, and it makes the song work. Like, try not to, we're trying not to step on each other with, another guitar and something. I was like, you got 3 of these guys up here. You got a killer bass, you got a fucking piano, backup singers, and like, they all are in their lanes, and it all sits exactly, where it should. And that's,
but for the record, that's because of RVZ. The guy was like a general in that band. Right. He'd tell the piano player, guitar player, bass player, hey, what are you doing over there? I don't know if that's working for me right now. I'm just saying that guy was running a tight ship, Jack. And there's a lot of stories that if you challenged him and he had too many cocktails, he might take you out back and show you how it's done that way too, if you want to stick around. And so some of the guys didn't want to be in the band. They're like, I'm packing my shit, I'm out here. This motherfucker's crazy, and beat the shit out of me.
If you see a fire plug looking guy from Jacksonville, Florida with a hat on with a snake thing, don't fuck with those people.
Yeah, right. No shit.
Because I'm like,
and he's I was just not very, and kudos to, that's what made Leonard Skinner is because he was running a tight ship, and he had a vision of where this thing is going, and you're either on board or out of the way. There was only kind of 2 options going on.
Man, like, that's okay. I got a question for you two. This is in our van. This is one of the most reoccurring arguments that we have. And I'm not going to give you any qualifying characteristics for what constitutes biggest. Okay. So this is going to be for you guys to describe. So I'm going to ask you, who is the biggest American rock band? Past or present? It's a big question because we were talking Skinner. So obviously Skinner comes up.
I would go with Aero Supply.
I think Aerosmith would probably, because the other ones I'm thinking that are bigger are not from America. So yeah, Aerosmith would be, I think, most albums sold, largest venues that they can play, demand.
Now, I'm not disagreeing, but like, so this is where other things come in. So depending on how you say biggest, largest, or they, where would the Eagles fit into that continuum?
Oh shit, you're right.
That's true. That's true.
Now
They are from America.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going cross platforms, though, then we could get into the Taylor Swift territories, and we can get into all these people that have sell out. Yeah. So, the Eagles rock. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe. They're kind of borderline. I guess they could be on classic rock stations. Right?
That's a good point, because I think I mentioned I saw the Eagles, but I don't know, probably 5 years ago, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, and it was just fucking crazy at the shit that was getting moved at the merch table. I mean, they were selling $60-$80 t-shirts. There were people with like 3 or 4 things around their shoulders walking out, and then a bag of other shit. I'm like, oh my God, they're killing.
That's what I'm saying, because now you're getting into, like, I consider us non-music civilians, all of us in this thing, because we all do something in the realm of music. So so the Eagles, as does Aerosmith, they kind of translated that. We had to take Skinner out of the conversation because they weren't around long enough. We don't know what Skinner would have done. We saw Aerosmith have a bunch of different eras. We saw the Eagles, continue up until passing. For the same reason we disqualified Creedence Clearwater Revival, which would have been because they don't have the numbers of the other one. Now everybody knows their songs, but they weren't around very long, so yeah, we got stuck right where you guys did, where we go between Aerosmith and
any other bands I can think of, like they ended too early to see a career that would go as long as some of those are, like Jim Morrison and the Doors. Had Morrison lived, maybe they could have had all kinds of tours and t-shirts and eventually shit going on, but the guy died and croaked and we didn't get anything past 6 or 7 years of material. So a lot of them flame out. There's not a lot of guys that have longevity.
Think of like
Bon Jovi.
I would say Kiss is in that. Yeah, Bon Jovi. Kiss is up there, but not with album sales. More for concerts and tours and ticket sales.
That's what I'm saying. Like Kiss is kind of like its own thing,
Album sales don't really. And the bigger bands that I've ever seen, the Stones, well, they're from England, and then when they pulled into Oakland Coliseum, it was very clear who the biggest band on the planet is, because there's about 60 trucks back there and about 150 dudes.
It's just an interesting conversation. We always have like these kind of like conversations, and we go back and forth. But yeah, we landed pretty much where you guys did too. But we were curious, like then where would like where somebody that came along later, later than those bands, like a Bon Jovi, those guys still have had a pretty well career, and they have a lot of songs. But it's like, but is that like Eagles like level? Is that I don't know. There's a lot of questions. It's like, it's not really just a matter of like what your personal favorites are. Whenever you say biggest, you're kind of.
If he keeps up his track record, old Davey Grohl and the Foo Fighters might be entering some of this stratosphere at some point in tune, between album sales, concert tours, merchandise move. Dude just keeps being quite lucrative in all of these areas quietly. There's people know about him, but you don't really think, but you really watch what they're doing. They're like, there's a lot of money, a lot of shit going on in that operation, dude. So, I don't know. I would definitely, Henley's on a whole kind of another. He is like, he's this guy's got so much loot and just calls the shots. And I don't know anyone in rock industries would be calling Donnie Henley and be like, hey, this is how we're going to do this, Don.
Don would be around a lot of yes men at this point. I don't think.
Yeah. I think the whole.
75. No one's.
And he actually, I mean, I don't know where they're at now, but I think they still do concerts. Tyler and Perry are, I mean, Perry's made it clear Tyler can't do a tour. He could do a show here or there, but he can't do a tour. And somehow Henley at 80 years old back there still doing 15 or 20 songs a night or whatever.
Sounds great, man.
Which I was going to bring something up on that note, just because it was a news article that made me laugh, and I thought about it, and you guys will kind of know. Udo Dirkschneider of Accept says he can do 5 or 6 shows in a row, no problem. No problem. And I'm thinking in my mind, Don Dokken can't get through one show without.
I gotta tell you, Udo was on one of the cruises I went on, and he performed. I saw him both times he went on using a fucking cane. And that's a man, dude. He was walking all around the cruise ship with a fucking cane, wincing, clearly in pain, was on a fucking ship, performed twice. Yeah, they were shorter sets. They're about like an hour a pop, but he performed with no problems, no enhancements, nothing. This dude is a man. So you probably can do it.
And he can sing still. He sings really goddamn good for his age. And he doesn't have, everyone thinks, oh, it must be the weight or the health or this that's causing issues for certain singers, or the smoking or the, I don't know what Udo does. He's a little guy, kind of heavy set, but this guy just keeps, Don Dokken needs to get on the phone and say, what is your magic recipe there, Mr. German?
Yeah, it's Don. Yeah, that's, he's a.
What advice would you give Don? I mean, because promoters keep throwing money at him, so he's going to take the money. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
My advice to Don would be find some way to build the bridge with, George Lynch. Like it's like people want to see that, like even if you guys hate each other, and I understand that, but like they're at a point in time where they don't even have to see each other. They just have to go on stage. Like you guys don't even have to interact, because like there's so many. There's a lot of Dokken stuff that's so good that I don't think got its due. Like I think that I think that there's a whole audience, that would learn some Dokken stuff that they didn't know and really end up going back and liking it, because maybe they weren't, the poster child of that era, like they kind of were, they didn't have the push that like Poison or like Rat or somebody did, and they're a different kind of band. I understand that, but man, there's some really cool stuff. Like it's, sometimes it'll pop up and I'll be like, man, that's, I'm very impressed with that. You talk about, okay, Don Dokken, our song Model Citizen that we just put out. There's a, towards the end of it, after I do a harmonica lead, there's a modulation where we go from the E to the A, and we introduce a new chorus where we're just saying, son, I ain't been a model citizen. That's Into the Fire. I got that idea because they had Into the Fire. A long time ago, I said in my head, this song has a great pre-chorus. It has a great chorus, and it kicks ass the whole time. And then at the end, they just change it, and then they throw out Take Me Back, and they have this whole new part, and it just makes this moment in the song to just take that song from being a good song to a great song.
Great song.
And I was like, I'm going to use this trick in my own way, and nobody's going to know that it was influenced by Dokken. That was 1,000% a Dokken move, and that's where I got that from. And it's the reason that I wanted to do it. It took me a long time to shoehorn that into something and to make it work. And that's a Dokken idea. And that's something that find another. Rat doesn't do that. Poison doesn't do that. A lot of Tom Kiefer didn't do that in that era. Like, I don't know too many bands that did something like that. And that's not a slam on any of those guys. It's just, that's a nod, a Dokken innovation, So I think that there's, for Dawn, I think that there's I think that there's a legacy that, that they could do a better job of retaining, or cementing, more so. And I don't know if I'll be in a position like that, but it's really cool, and I think that him and George shouldn't, that doesn't happen every day, it really doesn't.
But it does seem like, and you've met George, I'm sure, a handful of times. Every time I've met with George, he's just this really laid back, carefree type dude, right?
I don't know if Don's that much of a dickhead or like whatever, because I see it seems like this guy's really easy to get along with. I don't.
He is really
like, because Yeah, he's just like I saw him one time. I was at the NAMM show and like I was cutting through like it was when he was working with Randall, I think, and I was cutting through like one of the Randall stacks to like get around, and boom, there's George Lynch just sitting there messing with an amplifier with like his big all the veins in his arms, and it's just George Lynch, and I'm just like, hey, George. He's like, hey, and I'm like, do you still have the Dream Warriors guitar? And he was like, yes, and you're not the first person who asked me that today. And I'm like, sweet, and that was like, and it was just the funniest, like, boom, he was like sharp as a whip with it. And we had a quick conversation and it was really cool. And I was like, man, that dude's cool.
And I think the showmanship that George, and if he could get Jeff Pilson back in the band, maybe get my old Steve Brown mixed brother on the kit, I think those guys would bring some showmanship that would help cover for the lack of vocals that Don's bringing right now. When some like me sees McCarville and Levin and BJ Zampa, they're good musicians and all, but they're not the guys in Dawkins that I know to be Dawkins, and I don't think they bring quite the same level of even just watching George Lynch do his shit in between every single song's guitar solo is something that every person's gonna, so
he was there. He was in the studio when that was created. Like there's something that like we can play. I can play somebody else's stuff, but I wasn't there. Like it's always going to be a little different. I just think that there's a little bit of magic with that, and I know that, and I don't know Don's health problems and stuff, but I know that there's a lot of there's vocal coaches, there's that there's like voice coach, voice doctors, like there's a lot of things that like you could talk. I mean, you'd have to put some of your pride aside and do that. But like, I don't know, maybe that's what's left in the tank. I don't know what's, going on with him, but I mean, it seems like that there is ways that you could do that, and not, have to, do the Vince Neil thing now.
Call Udo Dirkschneider and say, who's your vocal coach?
Yeah, just be like,
how are you doing this? Because off stage, you got a cane and you're 5 foot and you look like you've been eating 18 sandwiches and a piece of pizza. Right. How would you get on there and do that and sing it like it sounds like Accept? I don't understand.
Well, I think
I would say Udo may have lost a little bit due to age. It's not quite the highs, but he does the way he does all of it is still so close. You don't even notice that. You're like,
that's the thing. You can drop stuff down a half step. There's tricks you can use, and I say this using myself as an example. I'm an aging athlete. Like Drubin said. I like. I'm always at the MMA gym. I'm always doing stuff. I can't do the rounds and the fighting and the stuff the way that I did 15 years ago. It's like I have to approach it differently. Now, I'm still decent at it, and I can still go in with our pro heavyweights and throw down and stuff like that. But I wouldn't be able to if I was trying to do what I did before. I would hurt myself. I would not be able to do it. You have to adapt a little bit. And I'm sure, and being that your voice is a muscle. It's an instrument. It's I would assume it's the same way. Like you would probably have to sing differently than like I don't know. I've never gotten my nose fixed because I know it would change the way that I sing. Like I only have like 10% non-blockage from getting my nose broke too many times. So I only have 10% breathing out of my nose. So I only talk out of my mouth.
I have the same kind of problem.
Yeah, you get it.
Deviated systems. They want to do nose jobs. I'm like, you're going to fix this thing? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, nah, I'm going to get it fixed. One of my buddies going to punch me in the face again and break it, and it's but you adapt, like, so you can adapt to things. So I don't know, it seems like I certainly, when I look at that, I think that, it could certainly he could certainly be doing a lot better than I feel the same way about Vince Neil. I'm like, Vince, come on, man. Like you're better than that, dude. There's more that you could do. And I don't know if they don't care or they have enough money or they just lost the eye of the tiger. That's okay too. Sometimes you just don't have the drive anymore, and that happens.
Just want to kind of cash it in and grab the check and head home. Yeah. And I, when these ages of these guys, you could kind of understand why that might be the case. But there's definitely, and I would think Udo's got to be, he might be a little younger than Don, but they have to be just pretty close to the same, 70s.
For sure.
I just thought that was weird that this dude's like, 5 or 6 shows in a row, no problem. And I'm like, some of these guys can't get through one show. Udo, how are you doing this?
Right.
Yeah, some of those shows, you're right. Some of those shows, I would say, if you go on the YouTube, there are some festivals in Europe where Udo's doing almost 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes of stuff. And I'm like, how is he just sitting there?
Yeah. Dawkins
It's just like no problem.
Dawkins very vocal heavy too, though. With all the layers and stuff. That would be, I have to go. But now you're gonna start me. I have to go back and listen to some of the Dawkins live, like the '80s, and pay attention to it more. See how they covered all that live, because there's a million vocal layers, on that stuff. But there wasn't Queen too, and they sounded, I mean, come on, that performance of Live Aid with Freddie Mercury is probably one of the greatest rock performances of all time. Like that guy was just, I don't know, some lightning bolt of the metal gods or whatever struck him that day, and he walked out there and just was like,
nailed it.
Hold my beer, son.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah.
What do you guys think about? Hey, you were saying, we were talking earlier about Scott Ian. He was saying he wants to be the third guitar player on the John Bush tour. He wanted to get the call.
I saw that. I thought
that was kind of like a non-Scott moment, because he's usually kind of like, I'll be the bad guy. Just to go out there with John Bush on that tour. You're not going to get paid much or whatever. Right. You're just going to go out and have fun playing your old songs, I guess, huh?
I guess. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. I'm kind of deficient in
He's not busy. He's not busy for John Bush. That he will say that. He'll put the PB&J down for a second and go play some old Sound of White Noise.
Not Billy. Yeah, that's but no, I like I haven't, and this is shame on me that I don't know a lot of the Bush era Anthrax, like not like I know, the Belladonna.
I'm a Belladonna fan too. I mean, there's two albums I think that I put on of the John Bush era that I have a selection of tracks that I can listen to and not, but like overall, there's just two different vocal styles, two different things. The music can be similar, but the vocals are so different. I'm just like, Belladonna's in a whole different area of what he's doing.
I do the same thing with Van Halen. I separate it. You know what I mean? It's like, I like the Hagar era for what it is, and I like this era for what it is. To me, they're almost two different bands. Black Sabbath, when they renamed it Heaven and Hell, it's like, that makes sense to me, because these are very different,
different bands.
Yeah. And it's both really cool bands, but different, so I haven't, I know more, Armored Saint stuff and things, but like Among the Living, man, what an album that was, right? Like was one of those moments where I'm just like, man,
you pretty much can't go wrong. Those first 4 or 5 Anthrax albums are all pretty brutal in their own ways.
Yeah. And and what, Bush would have been their third? Was that their third singer on?
Yeah.
He would have been after Turbin, Belladonna. Belladonna.
I used to see Neil around sometimes and talk to him.
He's always dressed up like a stagecoach driver, right?
Has he got a 6-shooter?
He's a character, and I had to introduce him.
He's a cool dude. He's just kind of weird to me. Dude. It's like he's in a time warp or something.
Yeah, it was really odd. Like, I was like the MC for like an event, and I can't remember what the event was, and he was gonna do something at it, so I had to introduce him. And like, he had, I don't know if it's his wife or his handler, maybe both, I don't know, but like, she comes up to me and she's just like, Neil would not like to be introduced as one of the former singers for Anthrax. And I'm like, well, okay, but that's why that's kind of how everybody knows. I was like, you're kind of limiting my ability to hype you up. Yeah. Like, my job is to go out there and get people excited for you to come. And I was like, it was kind of like, hey, you're gonna have to go in a fight now. Let me tie your right arm behind your back. Like, that was kind of what it was like. So like, and then he was like standing next to me. I was like, Neil, can I say that you're an Anthrax? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And I was like, well, I just got instructions that I wasn't allowed to say that you were from Anthrax. He was like, no, we should probably do that. I was like, I agree. Good. I was like, just make it like it was his idea. I'm like, that's a good idea, brother. It was just a funny thing, but no, super nice guy. It was just kind of one of those, but like you said though, like he had the full, like he had like I don't know what he actually had on, but in my mind, it was like,
it kind of looks like it, right? Yeah.
It was like a black, and he had like the wolf mask gloves on and stuff, and like, with the like the whole thing, like gauntlets and shit. Like,
it looked like he was coming out of that Wild Wild West movie episode.
It was wild.
Like he was gonna pull some kind of like eye goggles over his big hat and drive something crazy or something.
Right.
And it's funny. I was just kind of like sitting there. I was like, yeah, all right. I'm like, I'm like, okay, it's,
He's the Death Rider.
Yeah, he's
He is the Death Rider.
Right.
That's what he's portraying himself, I guess. As.
And he did want to be announced as the Death Rider, so I did add that in there.
That's usually what I hear is his nickname there.
Yeah.
You know?
And he looks like a Death Rider. I mean, if you had to, if we were all standing in a room and Neil was the fourth person and they asked who the Death Rider was, they wouldn't point at any of us.
I know exactly who it is.
Right.
It is the Death Rider.
It's that guy.
Good on him.
Yeah.
That guy is the Death Rider.
So
hey, so you live in Pennsylvania? Or you're in the East Coast area, right?
Yeah, I'm right on the border of West Virginia. Like I could probably shoot the Mason-Dixon line from
here. Okay.
All the way in the bottom southwest corner. Like closest city to me is like Morgantown, West Virginia.
Okay.
You know, like it's Pittsburgh. You know, Pittsburgh would be a little over an hour, and you know, Morgantown's like maybe 20 minutes from me. So I'm in, you know, I go to Morgantown.
Right on.
So that's where I'm currently. The other guys are, you know, Grant's down in Nashville. Our bass player Jeff now, he lives in Morgantown too, and Sean's staying in Florida these days. He likes to. He's like Jimmy Buffett down there. He's
likes the sun.
He
the sun in the sand.
Yeah, he's all about it, and I'll see him whenever we meet in Nashville. He'll get off the plane and be there. I have his amps right here, so I'll bring them down. Oh, wow. It's my job to drive I have all our crap here, so I put it all in the trailer and drive it to Nashville.
How far is it a haul for you to get from there to Nashville?
About 8 hours. It's about 8 hours.
That's not too bad.
So, yeah, when I pick up Jeff, you know, he's like I said, he's just lives, you know, the town over from me. So he's so once Rich stepped out, you know, when he had a couple, you know, he has some really young kids, so you know it's not road time for him. And so he still does all our merch, but Jeff, you know, Jeff's one of my friends. We were in hardcore bands and stuff since we were kids, and you know, his son had just graduated high school and stuff. So I was like, hey, you're gonna play bass, and he's like, I never played bass before. I'm a guitar player. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's just, you know, 2 less strings. You're fine.
Learn. Figure it out. Right. If you can do one, you can do the other.
Right.
Figure it out. But anyway, so he's been doing it, having a great time. So he adds a really cool layer. Like he's really good at backup vocals. You know, he's, you know, always done those great like punk backup like woes and stuff. Like so it's a cool dimension. You know, he's brought that in. He's real good at talking to people. Like, you know, so you can always find him around the merch table, and you know, he's a lot less awkward at talking to people than we are, and you know, it's cool. He definitely brings a new you know, a fun dynamic to it, and you know, we've known each other long enough that, you know, we're, you know, pretty good, you know, that we can rip on each other and scream at each other back and forth, and you know, but I've known him since, you know, 2000 or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it's like we have enough of a dynamic that, you know, like, and you know, sometimes it'll get heated, and then afterwards we'll be like, you good? Yeah, I'm fine. I'll be like, me too. You know, it's just like, you know, it's all happy, you know, and so it's pretty cool. You know, nice. Yeah, that's where we are now, you know, and we've been recording and just having a good time trying to keep content coming out as much as we can.
Cool.
And playing live. I mean, in this day and age, it's like release your own stuff on the internet or whatever, but you got to get out and play shows. If you don't play shows, no one's going to be able to hear you or see you or nowhere.
You got to, you know, we kind of do, we call it the Nashville touring method because we learned it from a lot of country artists where, you know, we'll target, you know, we'll go out, you know, if the right support slot came, we'd go out for longer. But, you know, typically what we do now is we'll pick a region, we'll go hit 4 shows there, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, boom, come home. Next month, hit another region, you know, like, and we can do it that way. We're pretty centrally located now, so we can, makes West Coast stuff a little more challenging, but, you know, for the most part, you know, we just did Texas, you know, you just got to add a travel day in there and stuff because we are stubbornly analog. So we have to haul these, you can't see them, but yet we have to haul our big Marshall stacks around, and we use full stacks, the whole 8-10 cabinets. We want it that way. We're not using Kemper fly rigs or anything. You know, we bring the whole
real shit.
Yeah. 100-watt Marshalls, you know, like,
I still use an SVT, so I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you got it. Yep. That's what it's Sansamp power now, but we do have the 8.
My band's not nearly on your level, but we do a similar thing on the West Coast where we just pick out, we'll go up and we'll hit Olympia and we'll hit Bremerton and Seattle on a weekend. Then we go down to California and play 3 or 4 shows in the Bay Area or LA and just stay in a region for a while and then drive back. It's just easier that way. And it's less headache, and you get 3 or 4 good shows in a place you want to go knock
You don't
out.
get stuck on you don't get stuck in like Omaha on a Monday.
On Tuesday.
Yeah, like
or Wednesday.
Half the time you're just sitting in your hotel anyway, and then you're just eating money and you're sitting around and you're like, man, I could be.
Or if you're like me and you're from the West Coast, you end up in Utah on a Wednesday and you're like, what the fuck am I going to do in Utah on a Wednesday? I don't got to be in Colorado till Thursday. This fucking state sucks. There's not even a bar around here. Grab a sandwich and go to the hotel room and sleep, I guess. Bye.
That one beer they have that's like drinking
like 3.5.
Yeah, I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, why am I just bloated? I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, oh, they're like, you have to go buy it anyway. Yeah, you get it.
It's crazy rules. Some of them are like, this is a juice bar. The alcohol bar is down there, and you have to check in at the club and register. And I'm all, what? To get it? Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, and then we had just left Nevada, which you guys know is like Sin City. You can do whatever the hell you want all the time. Then we get to Colorado, and there's dispensaries and guys smoking and drinking everywhere. I'm like, well, then this one state in the middle is like no man's land that you have no gig at. You don't want to gig at because it's not going to be a party anyways. And so, yeah, that's the druthers of the West Coast. You kind of have the 3 states that are fun to play in Washington and California and Oregon. And then the other ones, you're kind of like, well, Vegas is cool, but there's other portions where you're just like,
it's hard. Like Vegas, like to get people to like smaller shows is hard, it's
either you're big time or you got to play the Roadhouse bar for the couple $100 and do your best. That's the way it is.
Because there's just so much to do there. You're just competing with everything. So to get somebody to come see that is a lot more challenging than it is like, playing in like a smaller market where there's not a whole lot going on.
The best opportunities I could suggest in that regard that my band has found limited success in is when there's biker rallies in the area. Then they'll bring you in and you play something and you got some bikers who are drinking and doing their thing. But the casinos are like, hey, if you're not Motley Crue or the Scorpions, then how many Bee Gees covers do you got in the set? I'm like, what? No, we're not playing. What are you talking about? They're like, they always want these horrible cover songs. You're like, no, I'm not. I don't care how much you pay me, casino man. I ain't doing that.
Well, we have a point. I have an obsession with the Bee Gees, and there was a point in the set, and I kept messing with the guy. Like I did it to Grant one night because I love to throw curveballs at the guys. Like it was the breakdown, and we have a song called Skeleton Dixie. We were closing with it. There's a breakdown where it gets quiet, and I'm supposed to sing a certain part in our song. But instead, I decided to do Staying Alive and wouldn't stop. And I just continued to sing Staying Alive. And you just see Grant's back there, the engine on drums, like, dude, is this ever going to like end? And I'm like, it was just one of those things. Then finally, then I finally stopped, and he had to find a way to bring it like back into our song and make it work and stuff. And it was, I won't say it was smooth, but he did a fine job bringing it back. Cause like, I basically was like, I'm just going to take the train off the rails, and now you have to figure out how to fucking bring it back. Cause I don't play on it either. So, I'm just like sitting on my beer keg singing Bee Gees songs. And, it was pretty funny. And he was like, I was like, can we work that in the set? And it was like, no, we're not going to. It's like, I want to say, he's like, there was zero reaction from the crowd. He's like, nobody cared. I was like, yeah, but it was the Bee Gees. And I integrated it in with one of our songs. I was like, I thought I did something magical. Yeah, but only in my head. So
yeah, right.
This is why you have the people that tell you no around you. Right. So that's why we no longer have a Bee Gees medley in the middle of our set, because that's apparently not what the people who come to see us want to see. So.
Nice. Well,
so do you guys have any live dates coming up? Is there anything you want to promote or push out there besides the?
Yeah. Next month, I believe it's October 16th. We're going to be in Nashville at the Cobra, and then the 17th. And I think I got this right. You can check out our social medias. We're going to be in Johnson City, Tennessee. So we're going to be the 2 last dates of the year. And, then we're going to kind of come back for the holidays. And, we still have stuff to release, but, we're going to kind of retool everything and, hit the studio again and do that. But yeah, so I'm excited next month. So I'm home for a little bit, and, that's always nice, kind of be normal and sit down in the bunker down here, play with all the crowd. You can see my little area.
Yeah, I got the axes in the back.
Yeah. That's our like little, like our guitar boat. Sean and I put all our guitars there and just wheel them out. That makes life easy. I saw you video and I built it. It was not as easy as it was in the video. I made it a little bit easier, but fair warning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
it was fun, but it was a good project from back there. I didn't cut my finger off or anything, so that was solid. But yeah, that's That's what we've been up to, man. It's been, I don't know. I gotta make a trip to Tractor Supply and Walmart before they close today. That's a true story.
So
we'll let you go then.
So real quick before I cut you loose, Model Citizen out.
Yes, sir.
It's streaming on Amazon Music. So I have Amazon Music. You're on there, so people can find it there.
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. We got, Spotify, Apple Music, all whatever your platform is. We put it out on all of them because, I don't want to. It's hard enough to get people to listen to stuff, whatever you prefer. We put it out on there. The one thing we don't have Bandcamp. I don't know what that is. That was from American Pie. Apparently, a lot of bands have that. And,
yeah, they do. Yeah,
I just always think this. We don't have one of those, but we have the rest of them. That's the one we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, this one time.
Bandcamp. So that people can stream that. There's going to be physical stuff. You're saying somewhere around Black Friday ish.
Yeah.
So
I'm gunning for Black Friday, but we still have to get all the licensing for the cover stuff in place to
that's right.
That we should have set up. But it's a different, not to get all music nerd, but it's a different license than the stream. So when you put it on physical copy, I have to get a different license. Right. So we have 5 covers, so that's 5 different licenses you have to get, which is just administrative.
So
make sure they get there.
I think the last thing before we cut you loose, and thanks so much for doing this. Is good stuff. Lots of good stuff. We started off with just talking about the band. We got into all sorts of other stuff, and ending with some more Scanner to Hamlet stuff. But I think for you, I mean, you're a huge Springsteen fan, so I'm not so much, but if I were to ask you, I mean, what would be the go-to Springsteen album? And then just tell us a little bit why you would recommend that one in particular. Because I know, for myself, I mean, I think I'll check it out. Whatever you throw at me, I think I'll check it out.
I would. It depends. There's different levels of it. Like for me, being a big nerd of it, if someone has never listened to Springsteen before, the album that they're going to recognize the most stuff from is Born in the USA. Side 2 of Born in the USA is a masterpiece, but for me, I really, the one that I reach for the most is Darkness on the Edge of Town. It just has this grit, and it to me, it just captures a lot of the working class and his songwriting in a dark way that, he started to get into it in Born to Run, which is another classic album. But there's just something about Darkness that keeps me coming back. And if you really like that stuff, one of my favorite ones to drink bourbon to is Nebraska, because that's just him in a 4-track. And it was just him. It was all demos, and he just did it and released it as an album. And it's a cool album. Like, it's very dark. Like, I like it when he gets kind of like dark. And one of the cool things about Springsteen and I know it's difficult for a lot of people to separate the politics from the music, and I understand that, is that at different points in my life, the songs hit different, which to me is kind of like a really cool songwriting thing that I don't necessarily think that I can tap into. But like there's something that I sang along with when I was a kid, then I sing along to it now. I'm like, yeah, it's like, that's a little depressing. Yeah, that's where, as a middle-aged man. But I would go, if I were you and you wanted to dive in, and knowing you, I wouldn't go for the most commercial one. I would go for Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Okay.
That's where I would start. And, I like that one a lot. I think it has some good, that's my Telecaster is a total Springsteen.
Oh,
Telecaster.
Yeah.
And don't sleep on something called The River, and a song called Point Blank, by the way. I think is a very underrated. There's some ones, Stolen Car. There's some cool shit on there.
Oh yeah, Stolen. The only reason I didn't say The River is because it's a double album.
Yes, it's a lot of material.
A lot of
shit.
But
I like it because there's a lot of diversity. It shows you the whole spectrum of what him and the E Street Band could do, and
You're absolutely.
There's just some like stuff on there that you just wouldn't hear on the radio, but you listen to it and you're like, damn, this is just a good song, dude. Lyrically, the shit he's putting in here, the feeling, it's just there's. I'm not a huge Springsteen fan, but that one I would put on a couple times. Like, wow, this guy's deep. Dude. He ain't screwing
like
around.
He's real good at seeing people and telling their stories. You know, even if they're not his stories. And
very like other than Bob Dylan, he's like one of these master lyric writers that can just put paragraph after paragraph of lyrics, and you're thinking in your mind as a musician, I'm like, how could he ever perform this live and remember all these words, dude? I would be forgetting every other verse.
We did I did an acoustic show with my one buddy, and like when I do acoustic shows, I just bring like a friend to fill guitar gaps for me, and they can go off the rails real fast because like I just make shit up half the time. But one of the ones that we did was we did Springsteen's Thunder Road, and he's never heard the song, so for him to try to follow along, he's just like, I'm like, yeah, you just kind of got to watch me on this one because the timing and the counting isn't going to make any sense where the syllables hit and all that, and yeah, it was pretty funny, you know, like when you actually like sit that down, I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of words to this, you know, I just know them all, and I see he's got it on his iPad trying to like follow along to see where he is. I'm like, oh, that's going to be like reading War and Peace on tablature, you know, while you're
We did a Bob Dylan song before, and that particular song, Slow Train Comin', has about 8 or 9 verses, and they're massively huge stories about all kinds of things going on in America that's wrong. And I'm like, how does Bob Dylan get on stage remember more than 2 of these? I don't even know. I'd have to have them like on a piece of paper in front of my face. It's crazy.
I like Bob Dylan because he could say something like, I met a white man and he walked a black dog, and we're all like, is this profound or is this just stupid? I don't know, but I was like, no, it's profound. I was like, there's something there. So either he's Jesus
or I think sometimes he's just spouting off the idea onto the paper and then just doesn't look back. He's the kind of guy who's like, that's in the rear view now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And I'm like sitting here thinking about that. I'm like, yeah.
But there's very few guys like him and Bruce who can just put down 3 pages of lyrics on you in a couple 20 minutes and say, here's a song. And you're like, what the hell are you writing? A novel?
Yeah. And they've got that down, you know, like it's and they both do it in their own different way. And both of them are, there you go. Those are front men and musicians, not singers. These guys are like, and it's all, but try to sing their stuff, you know, like singers, you know, like try to sing it. It's not easy, you know, like try to get all those words out and make it make sense.
Play a guitar while you're singing all those words and then think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys. I always have a blast.
And I think we'll pull you in for something, maybe something at the end of the year or something. We'll do some kind of wrap up something or other, but wrap up 2025 or something.
Do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
I have a lot of stupid music trivia knowledge.
There we go. Maybe we can do a little bit of that.
Or if you have a couple of favorite artists, we like to do album versus albums and compare different albums in their career and kind of go through the track by track of what we like and don't like and what made these albums so different and contrasting. So
yeah. Well,
you know what I've been listening to? I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you a fun one before we get off that I've been listening to, and you guys are go back, and I don't know if you've heard it before, but I just found out, and this happened in the 90s, and I missed it, that Duran Duran covered Grandmaster Flash's White Lines.
Oh, no.
I didn't know that.
Awesome.
Oh, no way.
To Amazon Music now and listen to Duran Duran's cover of White Lines. And even got Mel to sing on it, too. So it's Simon Le Bon. They put like a guitar solo in there, and he plays all the freaking breaks on guitar. Oh, no, it's freaking phenomenal. It's like you're like, what are like the coolest like Euro pop, like, you know, supermodel dating people are singing a song about like white lines. I was like, well, they all share cocaine in common, so it makes sense. But it was but it's funny. But it's remarkably well done, and they did it towards the end of the 90s, and they have a video for it, and I check it out. That's my obscure track for you guys to go listen to when you're done.
We will go do that.
Be up on Facebook.
Nice. Absolutely.
Right on. Check it out.
I'm gonna go pop that in the car while I
there you go.
Right on.
I'll be the only person at Tractor Supply rocking
Duran Duran.
All right, man. Hey, thanks so much. Well, thanks for what? I mean, we sucked up like an hour and a half of your life, but I think it was good.
Yeah, please, and send me a link. I'll make sure we get it up on all.
Sure, we'll do that.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, thanks so much, Adam.
Good one.
Yep.
Raise your horns high.